Hey guys! Psycrafter here today. I am back in Anime versus Reality. This time with music in the background. YouTube, you'll not be hearing it. It is Twitch exclusive, so if you do want to be hearing the music that I'm listening to right now, you gotta hop over onto Twitch. The music that's playing right now is not going to line up with what we're covering today, though. Because today, I am back with Danmachi. And, Season 2 of Danmachi really focuses on the themes of, possessiveness of Belle in the show. I hope the music's not too loud. I might actually turn it down just a slight bit. Because I don't want it to be too loud for Twitch. Anyways. Birthdays. Because I love doing anime character birthdays. Oh my gosh. 2 days ago of when this has been recorded, it was actually Rika's birthday. Rika Furude from Higurashi. On August 21st. The hair's annoying. Okay. Let's get a start with Season 2. We got 12 episodes to get through, so let's get to it. And starting right off the bat, Wealth, Belle, Lilyruka, and Makoto face off against some hellhounds in the dungeon, with Belle getting a few kills and Wealth protecting him from a fire blast and killing one himself. Lilyruka warns Makoto about the hellhounds behind her, which she defeats without even looking. It's like, okay, no look kills. Impressive. After the fire is finished, Belle thanks Makoto for the help, but she was the one that invited them on the journey into the dungeon. Just having that one extra person around makes the middle floors easier to handle, and Lilyruka brings up how they barely survived with just the three of them. Making her apologize on behalf of her familia once again, but since the situation is finished, she doesn't need to apologize. Yeah. It's like, the problem's sorted. You don't need to keep apologizing. It's not like you murdered one of us, sort of thing. On the surface, the three celebrate Wealth ranking up to level 2, which means that as a master blacksmith of the Hephaestus familiar, the value of his wares will go up. Lilyruka notes Wealth will be leaving them to return to the Hephaestus familiar since he has obtained the Forge ability, but he promises not to leave them. Well, he promises to not leave them. Wealth also wants Makoto to be part of their group too, but she has her own thing to do with her familiar. Much like how they're all from different familiar. It's like the most hot pot group of characters. Lilyruka asks Belle if it's time for him to rank up yet, which it's not. But his ability scores have gotten a big jump since that fight on the 18th floor at the end of Season 1. A kid from the Apollo familiar thinks that Bella's lying about being so close to level 3, and to not con people. Belle tries to ignore him per Lilyruka's advice. So the kid moves on to calling out how his party is a ragtag group of people, and how Hestia is a failure of a goddess. It's like, you can offend me, you can offend my friends, don't offend the goddess. Because Belle goes to attack the kid when Wealth throws his tankard in the kid's face. lying that it was an accident. Wilf and Bell take down the Apollo Familiar members, except for one that takes Wilf down in one hit and beats up Bell. Pub patrons recognize him as Herkinfoss Cleo, who is a level 3 and starts choking Bell out. Bette is also in the pub and breaks up the fight by just kicking over Barstool, and the Apollo Familiar members leave, followed by Bette. It's like, that's one way to just break a fight. It's just break a chair. Back at Hesia's place, happy to see Bell is so spirited, but also a bit sad, as Lyrica says that Bell has been becoming more crude lately. Hesia wishes Bell wouldn't get into fights, but Bell explains that the Apollo Familiar was saying bad things about her, and he reacted. So he was like sort of justified in his actions. She tells him that next time he needs to laugh it off and say that she's too important to get mad over, over what people say, basically. Lyrica wonders if the Apollo Familiar will come after them for revenge, and Hesia gets a nervous look when she learns it was the Apollo Familiar. It's like, The next day at the guild office, Aina is momentarily angry about Bell getting in the fight with the Apollo Familiar, but calms down upon learning that Hesia's already scolded him for his actions. Aina warns Bell against starting fights between familiars, as it can turn Aurora into a war zone. Bell tells Aina he's exploring the middle floors of a dungeon at a safe pace, only exploring floor 13 so far. As soon as Aina is gone, Bell gets a letter of invitation to a banquet from Daphne, Loris, and Cassandra Ilion, I'm going to say, because it is like Ilion. Hesia reads the letter and confirms it is a banquet of the gods that they've been invited to, and that it's a bit different from usual. So Hesia plans to invite Take Mikazuchi and Miach along. Belle and Hesia arrive at the banquet in fancy outfits, with Belle, Belle isn't used to fancy outfits, and Hesia's saying he looks great. Take Mikazuchi thanks Hesia for the invite, and he brought Naza Erisus along to the party, who Hesia says needs a luxury night. I feel like I messed up. No, Miach would have brought Naza, because Naza is part of his familiar. Don't know why I put Takemika Suchi there. Upon walking in, Hermes immediately shouts out to them, and Hesia is surprised to see how... Hermes is commenting on how beautiful Mikoto, Bell, and Naza are before turning everyone's attention to Asfi and how beautiful she is. And in response, Asfi elbows him across the room. She literally gives him the full elbow across the room into a wall. It's like, Apollo steps out and welcomes everyone to the banquet, asking if they like the changes he made to the banquet, and saying that it will be a night of new greetings, staring directly at Bell. We know what he's got something planned. Hermes asks Bell if he wants to speak to Apollo, but Belle thinks that he and Hestia should introduce themselves together. Hermes mentions that Apollo is an interesting guy, and constantly having a love affair going on. Okay. Apollo is also spiteful, which Belle doesn't understand when they're interrupted by the arrival of Freya and Otta, and Hestia jumping on Belle's head to make him not look at Freya. Hestia, you're at a ball. It's probably more disrespectful not to pay attention to someone. When Freya walks over and says hello to Hestia, Miyach, and Takemikazuchi, who both get pinched for interacting with Freya with any undertones of attraction, it's like, okay. Walking up to Belle, Freya touches his face, which Hestia is quick to stop, saying he won't dream about her, and loses it on Belle. Like, Belle did nothing wrong. Belle did nothing wrong. So why is he catching all this smoke? Loki and Ice next approach Hestia, with Hestia and Loki immediately getting into an argument while Belle blushes at Ice. It's like, oh. Ice gets Loki's attention focused on Belle, who calls him unimpressive, unlike Ice, and Hestia defends him as lovable like a buddy. No. All while the crowd watches on. It's like, okay, watch your words, please. They walk away from each other, with Belle annoyed that the distance between familiars is something to prevent him from being with Ice. Outside, Belle spots Hakenfoss meeting with someone, but by the time Hermes joins him, they're both just gone. Hermes takes the opportunity to ask why Belle became an adventurer, getting the answer that Belle's grandfather told him he could find anything he wanted in Orario. He also said to find a pretty goddess and join her familiar, and that Belle could be a hero. Hermes follows his question up by asking if Belle's going to dance, but Belle has never tried. And Hermes uses Belle's grandfather's own words against Belle to get him to take part. Since Belle isn't going to dance though, Hermes says he will, going straight for Ice to ask her to dance, before switching to saying he has somewhere to be, forcing Belle into dancing with her. It's like, okay. Jeez, Hermes. Noticing Belle's awkwardness, Miyach demonstrates to Belle how to be a gentleman with Naz's help. Belle works up the courage to ask Ice to dance with him, and Ice accepts, leading to Belle fumbling his way through dancing with Ice. With more advice from Takemikazuchi and Mikoto, Belle proves himself to be a natural dancer. Hestia and Loki are surprised by Belle and Ice dancing together. Not that they can do anything about it with Asfi holding them both. It's like, she's just like holding them both by the back of the dresses or something like that. Freya asks Otta if it's possible to bring a herd of minotaurs to the banquet, which he says it's not. Ice reveals it's her first time dancing too, and doing so has made her happy, thanking Belle. Really, right now, Belle is doing so well. Apollo asks everyone again if they're enjoying the banquet, approaching Belle about the fight at the pub and wanting compensation for their injuries. He reveals that the badmouther got injured seriously by Belle, and that he threw the first punch, which is 100% not what happened. Hestia doesn't want to deal with Apollo's farce of a story. So he decides to challenge Hestia to a war game, all in an attempt to take Belle away from her. Seriously, we're doing this now. We're not even that. We're only one episode in, we're already doing a war game. Hestia sees... Oh, moving into episode 2. Hestia sees Apollo's actions as a way of getting back at her for turning him down back in heaven. She doesn't want to accept a war game, with Apollo saying she'll regret it. Seemingly having something planned. Something... I don't know what it is yet. The next day, Belle gets ready to go exploring the dungeon and asks Hestia if war games are duels between familiars. She confirms that's so, and where the rules are decided and have a full-on fight, where the winner gets everything from the loser. As the two leave, Belle says he'll be exploring the dungeon with Welf and Lilyruka, then coming straight back. And Hestia says she'll leave work early. The moment Belle opens the door, though, he sees the entire Apollo familiar waiting for him, and attacks him, they attack with no hesitation. It's heard as far as the hostess of fertility, with Aya thinking it might be Belle's place. Two Apollo familiar members attack Belle, but even with him holding Hestia, he defeats both and disappears like a ninja. He just slips away. Under fire from arrows, Hestia tells Belle to run to the guild, since they can't attack there. Running towards a dead end, Belle jumps clearly up to the roof, which scares Hestia, and lands in front of Daphne and Cassandra, who are like, they're like telling him to give up. They want him to give up because they don't want Belle to go through the same thing they did, being pursued across the world. Wait, what? Belle won't surrender and tries to escape with Hestia, and Cassandra getting his shoulder with a dagger during his escape, forcing him to use firebolt magic to escape. Daphne notes how fast Belle is, while Cassandra believes it's not a good idea to mess with Belle. Okay, so we got Cassandra here that's like, the only one that's like, no, don't mess with Belle. Leave him alone. Cassandra had a prophetic dream about a wounded rabbit hopping over the moon and devouring the sun. Meanwhile, Welf and Lilyruka are worried that Belle's late, about Belle being late, when they overhear an adventurer talking about how the Apollo familiar has started a war against the Hestia familiar. It's like, well, that's not a good sign at all. Word even reaches Ice through Tiona, but Finn tells Ice not to get involved in a way that looks like she's helping the Hestia familiar, because it's like, that could lead to worse situations down the line. Hestia apologizes to Belle for slowing him down, and when he stops and throws her aside to defeat 3 Soma familiar members non-lethally, Belle senses another person, turning to see that it's Herkenfos. Defending against a quick attack from him. Herkenfos says Belle should rejoice in personally fighting him, dealing small cuts all over Belle. It's like, jeez. Over at the guild, Aina says they need to stop the fighting by fighting them, but the Apollo familiar is so flush with cash, they could pay it easily. It's like, Seriously. Hyrcanthos explains that he hates Belle for being the object of Apollo's affections, but will still allow Belle to join the Apollo Familiar. Belle tries to attack again, but he's slow, taking a big slash on to the chest. Hyrcanthos kicks him in the face, surprised that he's surprised that Belle is still awake, and pressing on Belle's wounds while calling him ugly. He prepares to slice a limb from Belle when Nazar shoots arrows from a tower so Belle can escape. Even when he's injured, the Apollo Familiar keeps attacking Belle. Like, him and Belle keeps just dodging with Hestia. He's just dodging attacks left, right, and center. Just as they're going to grab Belle, Elka, Makoto, and Chigusa show up to fight the big group of Apollo Familiar members. Wealth, Lily-Rika, and Miach find Belle, with Miach having a healing potion ready for Belle. Miach was the one that asked Takemika Tsuchi for help. Glad to see that they made it in time, because honestly, we're in the craziness of this battle. That's just like a one-sided battle. The four run off together in hopes of reaching the guild, when the path is cut off by more adventurers. Wealth and Lily-Ruka stay behind to deal with them, but two slip past with ease to chase after Belle and Hestia. Lily-Ruka knocks out the two that got past, only to be confronted by Xanis Lustra. And just his presence alone makes her willing to return to the Soma Familiar to protect Belle, just abandoning Wealth. Belle and Hestia escape detection by hiding under a bridge, giving Hestia time to check up on Belle. They hear Hyrcanthos shouting from the rooftops that they'll pursue Belle no matter where he goes on the surface or in the dungeon. Hestia sees their only two options. It's fighting an unwinnable war or fleeing Aurario, being happy as long as she's with him. She asks if Belle likes her, that if he does, she can fight anything. But Belle respects her. And her outburst leads to them being found. It's like, With that moment, with Belle ruined, Hestia tells Belle to go to the Apollo Familiar household, finally just accepting this war game. Wealth arrives after the war game is decided on, explaining that Lyrica has returned to the Soma Familiar. Belle wants to go save Lyrica because they need her, but Hestia says his focus needs to be on getting strong quickly in order to win the war game first. Belle heads to the Loki Familiar to meet with Ice, but the guards block him on thinking he's going to ask her to help in the war game. Tiana shows up and learns of the situation, getting Belle and telling him to get lost, but also whispering in his ear. Like, she whispers something in his ear. And that something was the fact that Ice and Tiana are behind the estate, where Ice says that she believes it's wrong to abandon Belle, unlike her familiar. Both Ice and Tiana are going to help him train so he can win the war game and defeat Hyrcanthos. Oh my god. At the Soma estate, his followers are begging for a drink of the Soma wine, and Xanis has returned with Lily-Ruka. Lily-Ruka immediately starts begging to be let go from the Familiar, but for her to leave, she has to repay Soma for the good he's done for her, which is set at 10 million Valis by Xenis. Xenis puts Lyrica in prison so she can't escape, and talks about how Soma is just obsessed with making alcohol. Which really does follow what his whole thing is. Like, his whole god thing. Back on the roof in episode 2, Xenis reveals that the Apollo Familia hired them, with his reason being to get Lyrica back. Xenis managed to convince Lyrica that the Hestia Familia has been deceived using and abusing her. Or deceiving, using, and abusing her. Yeah. Lyrica begs the Soma Familia to leave them alone, and the only way for that to happen is to return to Soma. To the Soma Familia and to Soma. Xenis has learned from Soma that Lyrica has the ability to transform, and he plans to use that for the Soma Familia's gain. Aya mentions how the war game is coming up soon, but Hestia isn't going to the gods meeting to discuss the rules. With Belle also unseen, Chloe Rollo asks if they might run away, but Sia is confident that Belle won't run away. Hestia is currently with Wealth, having discovered Lyrica's location at a Soma brewery along the canal. She has information that points to the Soma Familia shipping another round of alcohol tomorrow, meaning the place will be less guarded at night. Elka brings up that the Hestia Familia should be focused on the war game, and Welv just tells her to shush. Belle is off trading with Ice to get stronger for the war game, but they need to save Lyrica to stop his worry about her being in danger. Hestia promised to save Lyrica too, so she has to do so, and she needs their help. Apollo is getting fed up with Hestia not showing up to the meeting, with Miach and Takemika Tsuchi saying she's sick. Loki knows that's not true, thinking she's planning to run away, which gets Apollo annoyed that he's going to have to report that Hestia has forfeited when she finally shows up. It's like, you could just keep us waiting. Apollo gets straight to the point that if his familiar wins, he'll be taking Belle. Since Hestia only has Belle, she requests that each side choose one person to fight, but Apollo calls her lazy. Apollo asks for the crowd of gods to put out their own ideas, to pull from a box by lottery, with Hermes being the one to draw from the box. Reaching into the box, Hermes pulls out a siege, and Apollo will allow her side to be the attackers. That's somewhat nice, actually. Hermes interrupts and says that a siege isn't fair for Hestia, suggesting that she'd be allowed some helpers. Apollo tries to stick to the rules since war games are between familiars, but Freya calls him a coward. He then tries to say that Hestia can only have one helper from a familiar outside of Aurario, and everyone just sees that as a petty move. It's like, just gives me a vibes. Just, yeah, you suck. Hestia has someone in mind, letting Hermes deal with the negotiations while she focuses on saving Lyrica. Xenis checks on Lyrica again, confirming that Belle and Hestia are okay, and bringing work for her to do, wanting her to make more money. Lily Rick is angry that Stannis came for her for pure greed. It's like, but he sees nothing wrong with greed. Buddy, if you see nothing wrong with greed because he just wants the pleasures in life, it's like you're committing one of the 7 deadly sins, basically, mate. His discussion of what will happen tomorrow is interrupted by an alarm of people breaking in. Stannis orders them to be killed, and Lilyrica says she won't help if he does, to which he says he'll give her the Soma wine to make her a loyal servant. The person guarding her, Chandra, suddenly tosses the keys to Lilyrica, allowing her to just escape because he doesn't like Stannis. It's like, seeing this moment and learning that Soma's like Soma sometimes has a human form named Chandra. I'm like, what if that's actually Soma pretending to be Chandra? And I am sort of jumping ahead to like where season 5 does that, but it's interesting. Getting out of her cell, Lilyrica watches Welf, Mikoto, Oka, and Chigusa fight the Soma Familiar. Lilyrica shouts at them to leave, not wanting to cause them more trouble by getting them involved. Hestia says that Bell needs her, and that he'd never abandon her. And also reveals that they're having a war game with the Apollo Familiar. She says that Bell is training under the pretense that Lilyrica will be saved, so Lilyrica races to Soma to demand that he stops the fight. Soma offers her the challenge to drink the divine wine and repeats her demand. And if she does, he'll hear her out. Drinking the divine wine, Lilyrica collapses drunk and sees Bell repeating her demand. She has successfully beaten, like, the divine wine. Soma listens to Lilyrica's demand and tells Stannis to shut his mouth, tossing a jar down to the ground and telling everyone to stop the fight. Stannis goes to kill Lilyrica when Naza shoots an arrow attached to a rope, which Welf runs up and smacks Stannis in the face with his sword. It's just like, you try to kill a friend of mine, you get smacked. Lilyrica makes one more request of Soma, and it's to transfer her familiar to the Hestia familiar. While Lilyrica goes ahead to thank everyone for coming to save her, Soma asks if Lilyrica really was a child he gave a blessing to, which she confirms that, and someone that he was disappointed by and threw away. Yeah, because like Soma just really just went down the alcohol route in this show. And I think this is the last time we see the Soma familiar in the entire show as well. Miach mentions how the war game is still to come, and Lilyrica understands her joining the Hestia familiar won't impact on the Apollo familiar's power. Everyone goes their own ways, and Takemika Tsuchi thinks about what to do when Mikoto requests to go to the Hestia familiar. At the same time, Welf also asks Hephaestus to let him go to the Hestia familiar as well, questioning him on his desire to make a weapon that's superior to the magic swords. But Welf says he could make weapons anywhere. With her last question of being what he's willing to go so far for, his answer is his friends. which she seems to like. It's like, yes, that's good answer. Hermes begs Rue to be Belle's helper in the war game, as she is the only person that meets Apollo's conditions. Yeah. Belle is still training, like doing his training with Ice and Tiana, and when he manages to make Ice stumble, he goes for the opening, only for her to dodge and knock him down. Ice noticed that he did that and explained that fighting monsters and people are different, with monsters being serious and people reacting to a person's reactions. She also learnt this in her own training, that a finishing blow is similar to letting your guard down, and in this, there's a chance to win. Freya thought of crushing Apollo if he got out of hand, but as a goddess, she has to see where the war game goes. It's like you get a little obsessed. It's like, ooh, how is this gonna shake out? And we'll see in episode 4, which we're getting to right now. Hestia's Familia now consists of Belle, Lyrica, Wealth, and Makoto, with Rue being their support for the war game. They welcome Belle back to Hestia's new ruined estate, and he's ready for the war game siege. Hestia wishes Belle to be careful and to tell everyone she's waiting for his triumph return. The passengers riding along with Belle are all going to be cheering for him to win. Yeah, I guess no one likes Apollo then. Sia chases after the car to give Belle a good luck charm from an adventurer, and shouts she'll have a hot lunch ready for him when she slows down. At the castle, Hyrcanthos is disappointed that the war game is a siege, and Cassandra has a dream that they're going to lose. Huh. The little kid that was teasing Belle to cause all this almost got locked out of the castle, with his name revealed as Luan Espel. The Apollo Familia seems to boss him around just for being a low-level prum. And I'm pretty sure it's prum. And forcing him to push the heaviest loads. Cassandra says that the Trojan horse has been brought inside, referring to the big box Luan is moving. At the announcement of the War Games' first day, announcer Ibri Achar says that Ganesha will be providing commentary during the game. Even if some of that commentary is mostly just Ganesha being himself. Loki likes seeing everyone getting excited for the war games, and Hephaestus says they're basically an industry in Orario. Not that the children forced into them don't like it. Apollo, in all his arrogance, says that when he wins Belle, he'll have Hestia leave the lower world. Hermes starts up magical feeds on the castle with permission from Oranos around Orario, and people start taking bets on who will win. Everyone is betting on the Apollo Familia when Maud shows up and places a 100k Phallus bet on the Hestia Familia, which makes everyone call him crazy because they didn't see what he did, like what Belle did on floor 18. With the time hitting noon, the war game begins proper, and Rue attacks the castle quickly using magic swords from Wealth as both defensive and offensive weapons. Luan runs out and says that Hyrcanthos is ordering 50 of them to go outside and defeat Rue. As soon as they step out, Rue knocks them back with fire and lightning, but the magic swords break. With everyone's focus outside, Makoto is able to slip inside and block the arrows of archers when Luan shouts about her being inside. Apollo Familiar's elf member is angry that Rue was using magic swords similar to the ones that burnt down the elf's villages. However, she views it as helping a friend. And if it's shameful to do so, she'll do it for Belle. Meanwhile, inside the castle, Makoto pre-prepared her war god's strike magic with concurrent chanting, pinning at least 13 Apollo Familiar members to the ground. Ibri Acha asks Ganesh's opinion on such a self-destructive movie early in the siege, but Ganesha is just like not taking this seriously at all. He's just being himself. Hermes notices that the Apollo Familiar are moving too fast, saying that poisonous information can spread just as quickly as good information. That's when Luan opens the front gate for Belle and Wealth, revealing that Liliruka disguised herself as Luan for the siege, with the real Luan tied up and with Miach. Daphne learns of this and tells the mages to prepare their spells and archers to prepare their bows. Belle takes the running lead, with Wealth using his will-o-wisp magic to take out the mages and archers, allowing Belle to just go right past. He just slips past them. Daphne goes to chase him, but Wealth tells her to be an adventurer and fight him instead. Tiana is amazed that Belle has made it all the way to the tower where Hyrcanthos is. Tiana says he should have used the magic swords to rush the tower at the start, but Bete knows that Belle wants to win this with his own strength. Hyrcanthos is unsure he can face Apollo with what's happened so far, and Cassandra tells him to run. But he sees Belle as an easy target because he's alone. It's like, he's an idiot. He tells his men to take down Belle, but not defeat him, because he wants that honor for himself. Liliruka and Rue are handling Apollo Familiar members well on their own, while Makoto's magic finally gives in and Daphne lands a blow on Wealth. Belle charges up his Argonaut skill, Firebolt magic, to blast directly up through the entire tower, surprising Hyrcanthos. Taking advantage of his shock, Belle attacks Hyrcanthos, slicing his chest and breaking his sword in two. Wait, when did Belle get so strong so quick? Cassandra dives in out of nowhere to stop Belle from attacking Hyrcanthos, allowing him to prepare his arrow Sephiros magic. Liliruka tackles Cassandra at the last second, allowing Belle to dodge the magic momentarily. However, the magic hones in on Belle, slicing his arm and exploding to knock him out. But it takes more than that to take down Belle, and uses Ice's advice to look defeatable before dropping back and kicking the short sword out of Hyrcanthos' hand. Transferring the drop into a backflip, Belle clocks Hyrcanthos in the face, winning the war game. Maud collects his winnings from the bets pool, with Naza also netting a small profit too. It's like, yeah, that's a new what she was doing. Sia is glad Belle won, and Tiana and Tiane are surprised he won and wonder where Bete is going. Apollo is appalled he lost, And Hestia is ready to cash in on her prize, which is to take all his property. And like splitting up the Apollo Familiar and banishing him from Orario. Bell thanks everyone for helping him and Lyrica for saving him, because if it wasn't for her, he wouldn't be returning to Orario. In the glass of the necklace is the Freya Familiar. Like the Freya Familiar symbol. Meaning the necklace came from a Freya adventurer. And not that anyone sees this detail though. Hestia introduces them to their new place, which is the Apollo estate, since her one got destroyed and won't let anyone complain. Honestly, there's not much to complain about when you get an entire mansion for winning a game. There's lots to do, but first Hestia redesigns the Hestia Familiar symbol to represent Hestia and Bell, with it very much being a first draft. It's like a rough sketch. And that marks the end of the Apollo arc of Season 2. And it's time to get into the next one. We're going to get into the next arc, starting with Episode 5. And Lyrica visits Soma to thank him for helping out the other day. And he responds to take care of herself, which catches her off guard. It's like, because he's usually very focused on his alcohol. Hestia was waiting outside for her to do what she needed before they went back home, where everyone welcomes her home. And the actual design of the new Hestia Familiar, the Hestia Familiar symbol, can be seen. Over lunch, Hestia decides to do a toast, with everyone thinking it's for different reasons. But it's actually for Bell reaching level 3 during the war game. It's like, huh? That's what we're celebrating? Ow. Bell is caught off guard by Wealth calling him Commander, and gets requested to give a speech for the toast, where he thanks everyone for coming to the Hestia Familiar. Wealth and Lyrica note how the place looks so much better after getting rid of all of Apollo's egotistical statues. And Lyrica brings up how Gubnu was the one to create the statues, and Hestia says he used to be the god of architecture, and got him to redesign the manor per everyone's requests. And oh boy, these are some requests that they had. Makoto got the Far Eastern Cypress bath she wanted, immediately getting undressed and hopping in. Wealth got a nice shed to do his blacksmithing in, and is excited to start over in his blacksmithing. Lyrica brings up how even though they got the money from the war game, remodeling can't be cheap, but Hestia wanted Wealth and Makoto to feel welcome. With how big the place is, Lyrica wonders if they should hire maids to keep the place clean, but when Bell agrees and they picture him surrounded by maids, they figure not to do that. It's like, While Hestia and Lyrica are arguing about where Lyrica's room will be, Bell hears Daphne and Cassandra at the fence. Asking why they're here, Cassandra says she left her pillow at the manor, so Bell offers to go look for it. Cassandra is glad Bell believed her, and whispers to Daphne about something, with Daphne saying they'll be back tomorrow. Bell is surprised to learn they're recruiting people, and it's because Hestia is capitalizing on their war game victory. Many people have requested to join the Hestia Familia, making Belle and Hestia excited. And it's all kinds of people, even people from outside Orario came to join the Hestia Familia. So it's like, it's wild. It's like, it even reached outside of Orario. Liliruka starts making a list of people to watch out for based on how gorgeous they are to say no to. Meanwhile, Makoto spent so long in the bath and has now lost her clothes, knocking over the hamper in a desperate search and finding something that says, "Do not touch." Hestia announced to everyone that they have good taste in choosing her familia and asked them to show their spirit for more and more confusing things. Preparing to start one-on-one interviews, Hestia is interrupted by Makoto funding her debt to Hephaestus, which makes everyone just leave immediately. It goes from full to like empty enough to like a what they called a tumbleweed to just be able to come through and not hit anyone. Wolf checks out the debt contract and points out that the price of the Hestia knife is 200 million Valis, shocking Belle to his core and fainting. Hestia had actually forgotten about the debt because Hephaestus had been taking it out of her paycheck. Liliruka mentions how Hestia should have told them about the debt and how much it was, and how Belle can't get out of bed. They also don't have any money left from Apollo since the renovations cost so much. Liliruka and Wealth agree they need to help Hestia out with her debt, but Hestia says it's her debt to handle and storms off to her room. It's like, you had to do that, Makoto. Belle finally wakes up and Wealth takes him to the men's bath where Hestia overhears them. Wealth compliments Belle's physique, which Hestia thinks of as Wealth hitting on Belle. What? Hestia figures it'd be a good chance to listen in on Belle as Wealth makes sure Belle is okay since he collapsed earlier. It's like, Wealth, like the money thing. Belle thanks Wealth for joining the Hestia Familia and finds it strange to be sharing a big manner with everyone, especially Makoto after the circumstances they met under. To him, even through Liliruka's trickery, Belle saw her as his first comrade, and Hestia as the best goddess, with everything that has happened in Orario as a gift from her. Belle feels like he hasn't done anything to help them, but Wealth says that Belle has helped them too. Hestia can't take it anymore, climbing over the dividing wall to shout she's happy to have him as a child of her familia, before Makoto and Liliruka start trying to pull her down. Hestia sits down with everyone and decides to let her familia help with her debt. While celebrating together, Makoto answers the front door to find Chikusa there with a message of someone being in trouble. And like, this episode was like the filler between the arcs, I feel like, because like not much happens this episode, so come on. We've got episode 6 where we will actually get to the next arc now. As night falls in Orario, the town's red light district opens up and the god orders her women to serve the men and share in their lusts. Meanwhile, Makoto announces she's going to bed, but instead she sneaks out, with Belle, Wealth, and Lilyrika knowing she would, and following her. The three of them see Makoto meeting up with Chigusa and head to the red light district, or the pleasure quarter as it's known, making Wealth think they're a couple. Ooh. Lilyrika and Wealth are both talking about the pleasure quarter, while Belle is in between them, covered in kisses. Seeing Makoto and Chigusa in trouble, Wealth and Lilyrika abandon Belle, trapped in a lady's arms, to go and save them. It's like, of course, why are you abandoning Belle? It's like, only one of you need to go and help. Like, go and send Wealth if you feel like they need help. They thank Lilyrika and Wealth for the save, and ask why they are in the pleasure quarter. And it's because they're in the same familiar now. Makoto explains why she is in the pleasure quarter with Chigusa, which is that a friend of theirs of noble birth might be working in the pleasure quarter. And why is that important? Well, we'll find out later. Lilyrika suggests they leave the pleasure quarter when Wealth realizes they lost Belle, who is currently wandering the pleasure quarter when he sees a blonde Renard lady that catches his eye before disappearing suddenly. Hermes spots Belle and assumes he's there for fun. Belle directly asks why Hermes is there. But Hermes asks him to keep it a secret, giving him an aphrodisiac. Okay, Hermes, no. Bad, Hermes. Bad. Chasing after Hermes to give him back the aphrodisiac, Belle nearly runs into a worker by the name of Aisha Belka, who forces him into a hold he can't escape. Her co-workers recognize him as a little rookie and his fast ranking up, but since Aisha got him first, he's her customer, and they can't have him. Belle gets dragged all the way to their home, where their goddess they follow is Ishtar. He remembers that Aina told him about the Ishtar familiar being one of the most powerful familiar in Orario, and to not associate with them. Oh, so... yeah, he might be screwed right now. In more ways than one. There aren't any open rooms available at their home. Not that they'd be against getting started now. It's like... with this, I'm just like... Belle tries to get out of this situation by saying he's from a different familiar, but Lena Talley explains that their familiar kidnap men and have their way with them. Oh, okay, so you're admitting to kidnapping and, R-word. All the girls are determined to drain of every last drop when the commander... I do not know how to say that name. I'm going to just say the last name. Jamil. Jamil picks up on Belle's scent and demands to be first. Jamil considers herself as the prettiest in their home. Prettier than Ishtar herself. If you saw her, you would not agree. Belle tries sneaking away during their argument, but gets spotted, leading to a full-on Amazonian chase, where the first to get Belle gets first time with him. Using his skills, Belle dodges, jumps, and slides past the Amazonian woman, making it outside the Ishtar home back into the pleasure quarter. All his running leads him into a Japanese-style brothel, and while hiding inside, he finds the blonde Renard lady again, who introduces herself as Senjono Haruhime. Senjono drags him to the bed and realizes it's Belle's first time, and takes the lead before seemingly fainting after seeing his collarbone. Jeez. Just the collarbone makes it hurt. Yikes. She probably apologizes for assuming Belle was a customer, with Belle also apologizing for barging into her room. After explaining how he ended up in her room, Senjono explains that it's difficult for a first-timer to escape the pleasure quarter, promising to show Belle a shortcut out when dawn comes. To pass the time, Belle talks to Senjono about how he came to Orario to be an adventurer with a dream and no money. Senjono came from the Far East, a place with 4 distinct seasons, and after she got disowned by her family when she was 11 for angering her father. Many things happened to Senjono, which eventually led to her being sold to the Ishtar familiar. But she did want to come to Orario, having seen many plays set in Orario back in the Far East, like The Dungeon Oratoria, The Adventures of Galad, and The Wizard Aladdin. But only with 1D, not 2. Don't get confused. Meanwhile, Hermes meets with Ishtar to give her a box with something powerful enough to make ladies who think they're queens crawl. Asking for information that would please her, Hermes says he doesn't have any weaknesses on the lady she's talking about. So, with a lack of information, Ishtar moves on to other pleasures. Belle and Senjono keep talking about hero stories, and she believes he knows everything, even though it's just hero stories they're talking about. Senjono wants to be taken by the hand and led to a new world she longs for, but doesn't see herself as the beautiful princess a hero would save because she's a I don't know if I can actually say the word on YouTube. A worker of the streets. Inexperienced as she may be, and views herself as filthy. To her, street workers are viewed as symbols of destruction in the eyes of heroes, and as one, she feels she lost the right to read those stories. As dawn rises, Senjono shows Belle the shortcut that leads out to Delius Street, and Aisha finds her out there to take back into the pleasure quarter. Hermes is crying after being pleasured into giving up that Freya, the woman Ishtar is targeting, is obsessed with Belle. She doesn't understand Freya's obsession with Belle, but she decides to steal Belle away from her. And that episode marks the halfway point of Season 2, as we are now going to enter Episode 7. Returning to the manor, Hestia is annoyed that Belle was in the pleasure quarter the entire night, curious as to why he has an aphrodisiac on him. It's like, I was given it by Hermes. Since it's impossible to lie to a goddess, Hestia knows Belle is telling the truth, but is still mad with him being in the pleasure court. It's like, yeah, it's like the one area you don't go to. If you're with Hestia. As punishment for going there, Belle is forced to help the neighbours. And during his punishment, he sees some kids playing pretend and remembers San Giorno and how he didn't have an answer to her statement. Wolf, Lyrica and Makoto help Belle with his punishment, with Lyrica wondering what Belle was doing last night. Belle asks Makoto why she went to the pleasure quarter with Chikusa, learning she was looking for a certain Renard. The moment Belle mentions Sangiorno's name, Makoto is surprised, so he explains what happened last night. Lyrica interjects to tell Belle not to get any ideas about saving Sangiorno, because they only recently won the war game, which Makoto and Wolf agree with. It's like, yeah, don't go after something that you don't know how to save, basically. Over at the Hostess of Fertility, Hermes asks Mia to give Freya a message about Belle being in danger from Ishtar. Sia interrogates Hermes with a smile about if he sent Belle into the pleasure quarter, scaring Hermes. It's like, whoa, I did not send him in, I found him in there. Meanwhile, Belle tells Aina about the whole pleasure quarter situation, which Aina misunderstands like everyone else, and asks about the Ishtar Familia. Most of the Amazonian fighters of the Ishtar Familia are level 3, with Jamil being a level 5, like level 5 rank 1 adventurer. Belle asks about Aisha and Sangiorno, learning that Aisha is about to rank up to level 4, and that Sangiorno is not on the list. Huh. That's interesting. Aina decides to give Belle some extra information about how 5 years ago, the Ishtar Familia was accused of lying about their fighter levels to the guild. Nothing was found, but when Ishtar struck back with her own accusations, those Familia that accused hers were penalized and fell apart, along with a guild payout for leaked information. Due to that payout, the guild can't intervene with anything that happens in the pleasure quarter. Really? So this is just a whole section of this town that's just getting it on at night. Heading to a bookstore, Belle grabs out a book titled The Pleasures of Bilganes to read historic stories, and finds one where the hero gets involved with a street worker and almost meets his end, and only regains his honor by killing her. Belle doesn't know what to do because he doesn't want to abandon Sangiorno to the street worker life. That night, in the pleasure quarter, Aisha finds Sangiorno dreaming an impossible dream, tossing her bag of candies from the Far East. As soon as Aisha is gone, Makoto comes to the... As soon as Aisha is gone, Makoto comes to the store window to talk to Sangiorno, but she pretends not to know Makoto, and Aisha overheard everything. Makoto tells Belle what happened the next day, and Belle asks what Sangiorno was like back in the Far East. Senjono was the reason Makoto got a divine blessing from Takemika Tsuchi, explaining that she, Oka, and Chigusa all grew up together in a Far Eastern shrine with the gods. Senjono lived at the mansion at the base of a nearby mountain and rarely left it, but did learn rumors about the shrine. During a meal, she said she couldn't eat all her food and asked her father to take the remains to the shrine. This led to the first meeting between Senjono and Takemika Tsuchi, who decided to help her. Mikoto, along with Oka and Chigusa, snuck into the mansion and dodged the guards to play with Senjono in the mountains every day. She was happy to make Senjono smile and repay her debt to her. After a while, the Takemika Tsuchi familia moved to Orario to start earning money to send back to the shrine. While here, Makoto heard a rumor of Senjono being deceived by a heartless person and sold to a slaver. Makoto wants to save Senjono from suffering, and Belle decides they'll do it right there and there. Do it right there and then. Belle notices Hermes hiding behind a pillar. He tries to get away with the lie of just checking up on Belle, only to be asked if he knows about the pleasure quarter. Telling Hermes what's going on, he agrees with Lyrica on not seizing Senjono, but if she's a street worker, the situation changes to the potential of buying her. However, the Ishtar familia might not let her go if she's a powerful fighter, which she isn't. The price might be around 2 to 3 million Valis, which is possible for them to get at their strength. Upon learning that Senjono is a Renard, Hermes decides to tell Belle about why he was in the pleasure quarter. That he was delivering Ishtar an item called the Killing Stone. And doesn't elaborate any further on that. Meanwhile, that night, Ishtar orders her familiars to kidnap Belle, but not taste him. Just because Freya is interested in him, wanting him as a slave. The full moon is nearing, meaning the Killing Stone ritual is coming soon. And when it's done, she'll start a war with Freya, wanting Belle to make it easier to provoke her. Down in the dungeon, Belle and Makoto one-shot Liger Fangs, impressing wealth, but Lyrica warns about the upcoming pantry full of starving monsters. Makoto charges ahead of the group, despite Lyrica's warning, and Belle thanks Wealth for helping, with Lyrica being the only one against the entire thing. Wealth asks if Belle learned more about the Killing Stone item, but Hestia has never heard of it before. At the same time, the Ishtar familia are down in the dungeon as a hooded figure does an enchantment over Aisha. While in the pantry, Belle gets separated from the group and pulled into a cave and attacked by Aisha. Now we're getting into the good stuff now. We're at episode 8. Makoto catches up to Belle and saves him from Aisha momentarily, only to be kicked away by Belle, as Belle gets battered by Aisha, and dragged through the dungeon wall. With Belle knocked out by Jamil, the Ishtar familia are prepared to leave with him, and Senjono realizes he was their target. Belle wakes up chained to a wall of a torture room with Jamil inside, about to go against Ishtar's wishes. Aisha orders her familiar to find Belle before Jamil can devour him because she will break him. Makoto wakes up in her own cell when Senjono, having overheard Aisha, gives her the keys to escape before leaving. Jamil is literally drooling over Belle and licks him, saying this room is her personal love nest no one knows about. Excuse me, why am I having to say these sentences? She likes Belle's shocked face, saying it's adorable, before grabbing him below the belt. And not liking his reaction, planning to get some medicine that will make him go crazy for her. That is most definitely assault. As soon as Jamil leaves, Sinjono finds Belle and sets him free, to which he tackle hugs her to the ground, thanking her. Sinjono hugs Belle back, comforting him and putting her tail on his back. In the main house, Makoto uses her ninja skills to hide on the ceiling and her scenting spell to try to find Belle. Jamil returns to her love nest to find Belle gone, knowing Sinjono was behind it, as she and Belle head towards the pleasure quarter in the secret passage. Belle is worried that Sinjono will get in trouble for helping both Makoto and himself, but she has made peace with the trouble she'll be in. Makoto almost gets caught by an Amazonian, but she slips into a library and finds the Killing Stone ritual. Sinjono says that helping Belle is the last thing she'll do for herself. Think the Ishtar Familiar will forgive her. Belle reveals that the Hestia Familiar is planning to buy her, but Sinjono cries, saying that she now has no regrets left. The Ishtar Familiar have even taken to searching the pleasure quarter, much to everyone's annoyance. It's like, we're having fun here. Don't interrupt our fun. The Hestia and Takemikazuchi Familiar meet up to discuss the fact that they're up against the Ishtar Familiar, not knowing why they want Belle. It's like, why are they so desperate for Belle? Chigusa suggests it might be to stop them from buying Sinjono from the Ishtar Familiar, but Lilyruka questions that because of how minor she is. Hestia remembers Belle told her about the Killing Stone that Hermes brought to Ishtar, which Takemikazuchi freaks out over because it can still seal away the soul of a renard. Wait, what? It's about as shocking as someone trying to be a scammer on Twitch. Having a Killing Stone containing the renard's soul grants the user renard magic, which is known as Yojutsu. Having a fragment of the Killing Stone grants the owner power, making it a way for the entire Ishtar Familiar to be more powerful than ever. If the Killing Stone is shattered, the renard's soul cannot be restored, essentially killing the renard. Takemikazuchi says the ritual for the soul transfer must be completed during a full moon, which is this night. Leading Belle back to the same shortcut, Sinjono tells Belle to leave quickly because her choker is a magic item that tells the Ishtar Familiar where she is. Makoto gets to the same location and questions Sinjono about the Killing Stone, knowing she'll be sacrificed for it. Aisha also arrives, snatching Sinjono away, and says that they want a war against the Freya Familiar, revealing that Sinjono was the reason she beat him in the dungeon with a level boost. Belle is confused about the whole sacrifice thing when Aisha spells out that Sinjono is going to die, which makes Belle angry. It's like, wait, you're gonna kill this character, like this one person, just so you can have power? You have problems. Your entire family has problems. Aisha promises a war against his familiar too if he wants to protect Senjono so badly before starting her story about how Senjono came to be part of the Ishtar familiar and that she hated her. She hated Senjono so much that she destroyed the first killing stone that was brought to the Ishtar familiar. Jamil beat her half to death for doing so, and got charmed by Ishtar until she went mad. Aisha asks why Belle isn't doing anything to save Senjono, allowing her to call Belle out for being all talk. Lena and the others join Aisha, only to see Makoto dragging Belle away as Senjono holds Aisha back. The Ishtar familiar chase after Makoto and Belle as Aisha watches, and Belle has no reaction. We're getting close to the end of this. We're at episode 9. And the Ishtar familiar are still looking for Makoto and Belle thinks about how horrible he is for abandoning Senjono and not acting or realizing sooner. Meanwhile, everyone is trying to enter the pleasure quarter but are prevented from entering from any entrances, acting like they don't want someone to escape. Of all things, Hestia is concerned about Belle's chastity. Belle's chastity is like the last thing you need to worry about, Hestia. Inside Ishtar's household, Jamil scorns the familiar for not finding Belle, with Aisha being the only one to blame her for the situation, and Jamil blaming Senjono. A grey-haired Amazonian says to let him run because no one can stop them from performing the ritual. Belle thinks about his interactions with Senjono while Makoto checks out the area for anyone nearby. He disagrees with Senjono's statement, and with his mindset, his right hand starts glowing with Argonaut magic. When Makoto returns, Belle announces he's going to save Senjono and run, even if it results in a war, which makes Makoto cry and join him. The Amazonians still can't find Belle, but Aisha is certain he'll come because he doesn't know how to give up. Just outside of Ishtar's household, Makoto will be going in first to find and potentially rescue Senjono, with a green flare meaning success and red flare meaning find the ritual and destroy the killing stone. Makoto goes her own way to enter Ishtar's household, while Belle charges the front gates with an Argonaut firebolt that blasts through the Amazonian guards and front doors with ease. Inside, Belle keeps blasting Ishtar familiar members, all to attract their attention. Outside of the pleasure quarter, Lilyrika gets smug about their home being attacked, and Oka tosses an Amazonian over his head. Belle's getting exhausted from all his magic usage, so he pops a magic recharge potion and keeps going. Makoto catches an Amazonian off guard, holding a showbowl to her neck and demanding Senjono's location, which is the Hanging Gardens. Up in the Hanging Gardens, Jamil reports that Belle has returned to their home and tells Samira to proceed with the ritual while taking Aisha to fight Belle. Belle almost gets surrounded by the Ishtar familiar, but blasts through them, running to getting an axe thrown at him by like Jamil throws an axe at his head. He manages to dodge Jamil's attacks and learns his Firebelt spell is useless against her. Knocked back into another room with a grand staircase, Belle is confronted by Jamil and Aisha, with multiple Amazonians joining them. Only for Ishtar to tell them to stand down and order them back to the ritual. Huh. Well, that works out. Ishtar explains that she was after him to get back at another woman, but Belle switches topics to Sinjono, impressing Ishtar. When Ishtar states that it will give her the power she needs, Belle understands what she wants. That she wants Sinjono for the level boosting she has. Belle's surprised that Ishtar is going after Freya. And it's all because men say Freya is prettier. It's like she literally is just a salty person that needs to be the hottest in the room for some reason. He asks why Sinjono had to be a street worker, but Ishtar sees bringing two bodies together as a holy deed. Yeah. Ishtar gives up the pretense of arguing and has Tamus grab Belle from behind, saying he's level 4, preparing to give Belle pleasure. Wait, what? Meanwhile, Freya learns Alan from Mel's report about what's going on at the pleasure center and is planning to go there herself. Ishtar is shocked that Belle isn't being charmed by her, and asks Tamus to check his back, discovering he has Lias Flares, which crystallizes emotions. Belle slips from Tamus's grip and runs away with Tamus chasing after him, and Ishtar believing he's mocking her. Mikoto reaches Sinjono, knocking out the two Amazonians, walking her towards the ritual platform. But Sinjono isn't happy they came because because they'll become enemies of the Ishtar familiar. She explains that Belle still decided to save Sinjono anyways, but Sinjono sees it as him being kind. Sinjono keeps saying that she doesn't want to be saved because she's still stuck on the street worker mindset. And Mikoto is so frazzled by Sinjono's words that an attack from Lena gets her shoulder, sending her falling, sending up the red flare while doing so. Both of them shout that it's not over, racing to the ritual by either running or climbing. The Ishtar familiar have Sinjono awaiting sacrifice, while they bring out the killing stone and the sacrificial dagger. Samira attaches the killing stone to the sacrificial dagger, preparing to kill Sinjono, when Mikoto shows up again, taking a few Amazonians out. Sinjono tells Mikoto to leave, but she won't leave Sinjono behind. So Samira decides to fight Mikoto herself. Samira beats Mikoto up with her bare fists, with Mikoto unable to block her attacks. Jamil gets word that Belle escaped Ishtar, and he's currently hiding out near the ritual. Mikoto tells Belle to not come out yet, when Samira points out that there's no time left. The platform Sinjono is on glowing under the moonlight. Remembering what Takemika Tsuchi told her when she was young about not fighting fair but being loyal, Makoto hugs Samira and uses her magic to create a spontaneous magical discharge and falls once again. Bell charges from his hiding spot at Senjono. At the same time, Jamil orders Sirei to kill her. He knocks the sacrificial dagger out of Sirei's hands and shatters the killing stone, ending the ritual. Episode 10. Oh my gosh. Ishtar is surprised to see the entire pleasure quarter on fire thanks to an attack by Freya herself and her familiar. Freya orders her familiar to focus on their jobs while she goes in to confront Ishtar, woman to woman. At the failed ritual, the sacrificial dagger disappears and Jamil confronts Bell for ruining the ritual. Lena spots that the pleasure quarter is on fire, confused about what's going on. Jamil says they'll just get another killing stone for the ritual, and even Senjono continues to tell Bell to leave. Bell stands his ground and says that what they longed after were different back then, that he won't abandon her, no matter what she says about herself. He wants to hear what Senjono really wants, but Jamil interrupts and knocks Bell back, demanding Senjono to give her a level boost. Instead, she gives one to Bell, saying she no longer wants that street worker life and asks him for help. Jamil knocks Senjono aside for doing that, making Bell angry and retaliate, strong enough to block and knock back Jamil's hand axes. Aisha recognizes the destruction of the pleasure quarter as the Freya Familiar's handiwork, telling everyone else to leave since it's the end of the Ishtar Familiar. She's planning to stick around because she needs to end something with someone. Meanwhile, 4 particular members of the Freya Familiar tell Otta they don't like Bell and won't help him while still following the divine commandment to defeat their foes. Otta stops for a moment to heal Makoto with a potion before leaving. It's like, huh. Otta does have a good bone in him, I guess. Inside, the Hestia and Takemika Suchi familiars notice there are no guards around, and one Amazonian jumps down to attack the group, only to be quickly dispatched by a spear thrown through the shoulder from Alan. It's like, jeez. Not even gonna say sorry. As quick as he arrived, Alan leaves and shows disdain for wealth fighting instead of being a blacksmith. Hey, a person can be both. Jamil talks about how great Senjono's power is, and knocks the Hestia knife out of Bell's hand. Bell upgrades the size of his blade, breaking through Jamil's defenses and draws first blood in the battle. Jamil rages out at Bell for scarring her face, launching an attack so powerful it strikes the entire Ishtar home. From out of the resulting dust cloud, Bell attacks Jamil with 2 strikes so hard Jamil falls through the floor. That's the downside of being a big woman. With Jamil gone, the only person to stand in his way of getting Senjono free is Aisha. Jamil finally sees the burning pleasure quarter and Otta approaching her, putting 2 and 2 together and attacking him, only to get her wrist broken by him. It's like, oh, ouch. With attacking out of the question, Jamil offers up her body to Otta, but just insults Freya and ends up having her head smashed in by him. Yikes. Makoto wakes up to being carried by Take Mikazuchi, wondering why they're there and where Belle is. Hestia says they're still looking for Belle. Makoto says to go up to the Hanging Gardens. Aisha tells Belle she just can't let Senjono go so easily, explaining that if people hear about her power, other familiar will come for her, repeating the cycle. She prepares to fight Belle just as the level boosting runs out, making it an actual fair fight for once. Oh, my arm. Isha tries to escape her home when Freya confronts her on the spiral staircase down to the ground floors, ready to say goodbye. Ishtar orders two of her familiars to stop Freya from approaching her, but she stops them with just her eyes, continuing to approach Ishtar. Freya says that everything Ishtar has been doing is little pranks to her, but she can't forgive Ishtar for her plan this time round, planning to crush her for doing so. Hermes watches the pleasure quarter burn from the outside wall, from the outer wall, knowing that telling Ishtar about Belle would lead to it and the Ishtar familiar's destruction. He didn't expect things to go so far though, impressed by Ishtar's jealousy of Freya, and Freya's love of Belle, and Belle's strength. Aisha and Belle continue their fight, with Aisha scoring first blood on Belle, and Belle only slicing Aisha's hair. She starts doing concurrent chanting, and Belle charges up his Argonaut fireball. As he asks Hermes what his goal was in causing such destruction, if it was for fun or not. Hermes explains that everyone wants to be a hero, even Senjono, and says that Oro will complete the great task Zeus failed at. Aisha's attack and Belle's block are so strong, both their weapons shatter from the force. Both are still standing though, running to punch and kick the other, but Belle's agility gives him the edge in dodging Aisha's kick, delivering a firebolt to her stomach. Ew. Ishtar continues escaping up the stairs from Freya, only to find them broken from what Otta did to Jamil. With nowhere to run, but with Tamuz sneaking behind Freya, Ishtar tries to distract Freya with the fact that Belle can't be affected by Divine Charm. However, Freya charms Tamuz with ease, leaving Ishtar questioning why she's more beautiful. And the answer is one simple word: elegance. Yep. Like, she is right. Ishtar tries tackling Freya, but she just dodges with the simple tackle and slaps Ishtar to death by falling, sending her back to heaven with a beam of light. Belle sees Freya at the main tower but doesn't recognize her, and she says something that goes unheard. I honestly find it funny that a god just got sent back to heaven because of a slap. Senjono wakes up after everything is done, and Belle tells her he came to save her, breaking the magical tracking collar, and her calling him her hero. If only we were finished now. We still have 2 more episodes with one more, mini arc. Outside Orario, another familiar from the kingdom of Rakia prepares to go to war against Orario, but gets swept away by a ground axe strike from Gareth. The familiar head learns that everyone got blown away, angry about why he can't get anywhere close to Orario. It's like, Dude, give up. Meanwhile, Aisha says goodbye to Senjono, with her thanking Aisha for everything. Belle asks Aisha what she's going to do now, and she mentions the Kingdom of Rakia's army, which Wolf knows as the Ares Familiar, known for its vast but weak numbers. Aisha brings up the street worker life and how prosperous it might be there with ordinary soldiers, which bothers Senjono, but even though she never did it with a guy. She tells Senjono to live her life free, and also warns Belle to take responsibility for her, because if he doesn't, she'll come after him. At Pub Brazy, Belle tells Hermes about what happened and that Senjono is now part of the Hestia Familiar. Belle thanks Hermes for telling him about the Killing Stone, but Hermes didn't mean to mention it in the first place. Hermes calls Belle the hero and tells him about the three great quests. A story about a world waiting for a hero. It's the story the world wants from Aurario, involving the defeat of 3 ancient monsters that escaped the dungeon long ago. The Behemoth, the Leviathan, and a third that we don't know the name of. Oh, we don't know yet. The Zeus and Hera familiars defeated the Behemoth and the Leviathan in the past, but have been wiped out. When Hermes mentions that the third is the Black Dragon, Belle knows it as the one-eyed dragon from the Dungeon Oratoria story. Hermes confirms the Black Dragon exists, that the three great quests isn't complete yet, and that anyone in Aurario can become a hero. Ares is frustrated why he can't win against Aurario, and his right-hand man, Marius Victrix Rakia, states that Aurario adventures are really strong, saying they should just go home. In response, Ares trips Marius and says he's being insubordinate. Unlike his father, Martinus Rakia, who'll do anything Ares says. Marius fires back that their people call his people the Moron King, and calls Ares a meathead, which is probably the most accurate figure this show so far. Senjono has switched her old outfit for a maid's outfit, and is doing the laundry when Belle offers to help, accidentally pulling out a pair of panties. Hestia sees the situation and makes it a rule on the spot that boys and girls aren't allowed to hold hands anymore. Huh? Senjono tries to be sneaky with her tail, but Hestia sees it and bans tails too. Lilyrika complains with Hestia about the new rule because it might make working together in the dungeon harder. She turns it around to say that Hestia can't touch Belle, meaning can't touch either, meaning she wouldn't be able to update Belle's status or Wells. Welf doesn't understand the situation as Hestia adjusts the rule to allow contact but no flirting, with Lilyrika shouting that Hestia is the only one being inappropriate. Makoto questions that if the rule applies to gods too, since both she and Welf were close to their previous gods, which Hestia allows. Lilyrika calls out the hypocrisy of the rule, but Hestia tosses her aside and hits on Belle, only to get rejected by him because he wouldn't feel worthy of dating one. Hestia knocks Belle out and runs away in anger, with Makoto and Belle saying he went too far. Oh, and Welf saying he went too far. Yeah. Lyrica asks if that same logic applies to adventurers and supporters as well, saying that how he worded it would make the other person upset. Belle goes to search for Hestia, leaving Welf to ask if he understands. Out amongst the Ares familiar, ex-Ishtar familiar members tried to please the soldiers and shopkeepers and shopkeepers try to selling their wares. Aisha is annoyed at the low quality of the soldiers around her, joining her girls for one night with some spirit still in him. Ares makes the decision to go to Orario himself to kidnap a deity as a hostage to try and make Orario surrender. Oh my gosh. To make Orario surrender, sprinting straight to Orario. Belle searches for Hestia when Miach and Hephaestus spot him and says they haven't seen Hestia when he asks. They ask Belle to tell him what happened, and he asks if they have ever taken someone from the lower world as a partner, which has happened because it's easier for them to be drawn to people rather than other gods. Belle says that deities and people are completely different, but Miach and Hephaestus tell him to treat Hestia with respect if she says she loves him. Meanwhile, Belle is shouting at random people about. Meanwhile, Hestia is shouting at random people about how Belle is a jerk because he respects her too formally. The lady that runs the potato snack stand recognizes Hestia and ropes her into collecting potato snack ingredients. At the exit of Orario, Hestia tries to sneak out to go get the potato snack ingredients when Ganesha catches her. At the same time, Ares starts shouting about his disguise, making Marius have to forcing Marius to have to silence him. Unfortunately for Hestia, Ganesha allows her to go get the ingredients and shouts about her being a deity, allowing Ares to kidnap her in front of everyone. It's like, well, ain't you a dummy? Imagine getting that lucky. Belle says goodbye to Miach and Hephaestus and leaves them to see everyone running. Ice tells Belle to come along, telling him that Hestia got kidnapped, with Loki being annoyed that Ganesha let her out. Okay. The Ares familiar have split into multiple units, and they don't know which of the units has Hestia. To find them, they have to cross mountains, and could lose their way back to Orario, and says that the Ares familiar have the knowledge advantage outside Orario. Ice announces that she'll go save Hestia, which Loki is against, but when Belle says he'll go too, Loki says Ice is already going. Finn says that if they follow blindly, the target will escape, and Hermes shows up to help by offering Asphi to assist. Ice and Belle make their way through the mountains and rain, with only Belle struggling and Ice spotting a blinking light. Marius also spots the blinking light, but is unable to react before Ice bypasses the Ares familiar army to attack Ares directly. Ares goes to strike first, but Ice makes his sword a lot shorter in one strike. It's like, there's a emasculation joke in there somewhere, and I'm not going to make it. Ice gets surrounded by the Ares familiar army, while Ares attaches the... while Marius attaches the chain to Asphi, allowing the archers to shoot at her. While all this is going on, Belle sneaks past everyone while Hestia gets out of her bag prison and from the mountain. Belle dives after her, with Ice falling into the raging river down the bottom. Like, they have managed to escape. They've managed to escape into episode 12. The final episode. I'm amazed that I've done this in less than 2 hours. Belle, Hestia, and Ice end up at the mayor's house of a mountain village, with Hestia having a fever after Ice saved them from the river. Ice is currently patrolling in case Ares' army is nearby, and Hestia says the whole situation is her fault. The village mayor, comes to check on Hestia, with Lena supporting him due to his age, who also gets put on responsibility for taking care of Hestia. Ice reports to Belle that neither Ares' army or Asphi are nearby. The only indications that a fight happened. The moment she suggests they stay a little longer to be safe, Belle blushes at the idea of getting to spend time with Ice privately. In his room, Calm looks at his sigil before going into a coughing fit that worries Lena. He tells Lena to go rest so she can help Hestia tomorrow. The next day, Belle is feeding Hestia while she continues to apologize for causing him trouble. Hestia compliments how kind and warm the village is, waving to some kids that knock on the window. And Lena brings them some tea. Lena explains that the village is holding a festival tonight to pray for good harvest, and Hestia suggests that Belle helps with the festival preparations. Belle leaves Hestia's room the same time Ice walks out in a more village-focused outfit, which Belle likes to the point of doing ooh fingers. Like, he does like the full-on like ooh. Ice is surprised to learn that the village is having a festival soon. Belle helps out a male villager with carrying a long log, and the villager asks if all the girls in Orario are pretty like Ice, which Belle sort of agrees with. Walking around the village, Belle finds a weird shrine, and a female villager says it's a scale from the Black Dragon. Oh, so this village is literally confirming the existence of the Black Dragon again. And she even knows the story of the Black Dragon, how it was driven from Orario by the great hero and fled north. And pointing out more scales along the path, each in their own shrine like Jizo statues, with there being 10 in total. Apparently the scales can keep the village from being attacked by monsters because they're scared of them. And Belle is confused by the idea that a massive world-destroying monster could produce something that would protect the village, with the male villager unsure of what would happen if the Black Dragon was killed. So what, like, it could be a situation where it's actually the opposite. He then sees Ice staring angrily at another scale. I only see the scales as something that fell off the black dragon. Upon returning back to Hestia's room, Calm is waiting there to request a word with Belle. Calm asks if Belle reveres Hestia, revealing his old familiar emblem to Belle, and that he confessed his love to his goddess, but failed to protect her. His goddess sacrificed herself and saved Calm, and he somehow survived the massive fall from the cliff they were on. Calm thought about following his goddess to heaven, but couldn't abandon the life she gave him, and tells Belle to take care of Hestia and not have regrets. Hestia wakes up a lot more energized, but figures staying in bed longer to be cared for. Like, she just wants to be cared by Belle more, so she stays in the bed. Instead of Belle coming to take care of Hestia, Ice is the one to bring Hestia dinner, since he's talking to the mayor. Hestia thanks Ice for saving her, and asks what she thinks of Belle, and gets the answer of Belle being a rabbit, which makes Hestia happy. She thinks Belle is a rabbit. The three join the festival, and the village is happy to see that Hestia is doing better and is at the festival. With Hestia there, the villagers start doing their festival dance, which is where if an unmarried guy asks a lady to dance, it means she likes them. Or it means he likes them. If the lady accepts, the two become lovers, making Hestia see it as an opportunity to become lovers with Belle. Hestia tries to trick Belle into becoming lovers by saying she'll forgive the whole running from home incident. Belle decides to do it thanks to what Calm told him, with Hestia making him ask the way he asked Ice at Apollo's banquet. He's uncertain if they can be together because he's wondering how much time they have together. Lena suddenly runs to the festival and announces that Calm is nearing death, with enough energy left to talk to Hestia, saying that she reminded him of Bridget, an Irish Celtic god associated with fire, pottery, healing, smithing, and protecting livestock. Hestia was actually best friends with Bridget, and Calm explains that she treated everyone as equals, but Hestia says she was probably putting on an act around him. Calm asks Hestia if he'll see Bridget again when he goes to heaven, and Hestia is certain Bridget will find him because of how obsessive she is. Come on, internet. Okay, there we go. The internet sort of fell apart for a moment. Come on. Come on, internet. Come on, internet. Stay together. We're almost finished. Seeing Cam hurting with guilt, Hestia pretends to be Bridget to put him at ease before he dies. Later on, Belle asks Hestia if Calm will really see Bridget in heaven. And she says it'll be difficult because when souls return to heaven, they're restored to a pure white state. Hestia asks back about his opinion on gods and humans and gods falling in love. And Bell says that humans die before gods do. Bell talks about the death of his grandfather and how he cried a lot, but it wasn't enough, saying how everyone has an end coming. Hestia understands not wanting to be able to see time the same, not being able to see time the same way, but she'll always be by his side, even when he dies and is reborn. Bell says that he wants to be with Hestia, and she promises they will be together forever. Hestia, the three pay their respects to Calm before returning to Orario and talking about how nice the village is. Belle wants to return to the village in the future, and Ice says she'd like to join them the next time he does so, surprising both Ice and Hestia. Ares ends up getting arrested for kidnapping Hestia, and Belle, Ice, and Hestia are safely back in Orario. Back at their respective homes, Ice dodges a hug from Loki, while Sanjano hugs Belle to the shock of him, Lyrica, and Hestia. Down in the dungeon, a monster spawns with the ability to talk and looks like a little girl. And that's where Season 2 ends. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm happy that we've reached the end of Season 2. And we did it in 2 hours. Season 2 is surprisingly short. I was worried I was going to end up going 3 hours. Like the other seasons, but Season 2 doesn't have much that happens, but it's also probably like one of the most important seasons of the show because it focuses on the gods' obsession with Belle for the most part, and then the part with Ice, or with Ares, is just tacked on at the end because like this one does have like is sort of short story sort of format for the season. Or like short arcs. I hope you guys did enjoy this episode. The next episode of this will be in 2 weeks with Season 3 of Danmachi. I hope you guys enjoyed today's stream, and for YouTube, links will be in the description to all the channels and to Twitch if you guys go check out. Don't forget to subscribe and notification bell so you know when the next video comes out. A ding, a ding, a ding. I'm Psycrafter out.